It usually takes a minute to.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Had a little technical difficulties first thing this morning, but welcome to our presentation on learning how to use these darn computers and telephones. Maybe we can all learn from that. Just a couple announcements. Daniel has an announcement, and I have an announcement. We'll turn the time over to Shana and Nate for our presentation. But I just want to make you aware of upcoming events. What we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. If you can see this, you won't see me, but that's all right. We're going to have some double token events. They'll be live in restaurants. You can see the dates here. We'll be posting this soon. But we're going to have 2 in Dublin, 2 in Macon, and 2 in Warner Robins. And the dates are all right there. So when you get invitations, if you desire to come and bring a friend, we'll be doing a new presentation that we've entitled Refocus. So the dates are coming up on the 30th of June, the 2nd of July, and as you can see the rest in July on the poster. So just make note of those, and when we send the invitations out, contact Pat if you'd like to bring a friend and participate in our new presentation. Daniel?
All right, and next week we have an exciting event coming up it's called a Family Financial Workshop. I don't know if that's backwards on your side, but it's June 25th at 11:45 a.m. It's multi-generational. We want you to invite your kids, your grandkids, anyone that you think could benefit from a family financial workshop. We're going to be covering the basics of financial planning, how important it is to get started early, budgeting, saving, investing, how to get out of debt. So it's going to be a really good one. Family Financial Workshop next Thursday, June 25th at 11:45 a.m. So I will turn that time over to who now, Bill?
Miss Shana.
Shana,
All right.
up to you.
All right, we are super excited to have Mr. Nate Bates with us today. He is our go-to phone guy in the office. He has a plethora of knowledge, and I'm going to turn the time over to him. There's a lot of stuff about phones. We discovered that he knows far more than we realized. So if you have some computer questions, he will address those at the end. And if you feel like we need to have a separate computer one, a whole nother separate class, we can do that as well. But without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Nate.
Okay. All right, we've got a short little PowerPoint presentation here on some basics pertaining to iPhones and Android phones. Y'all may already know what we'll cover, but we'll just go over some of the cool features that I know about on these phones that are helpful and are nice to be aware of. I'm going to turn my camera off so that there won't be a distraction from that, so you'll be able to see the entire slide. All right. As it says, online computer and phone literacy. Next. All right, I have worked in the low voltage telephone and IT field since 1996, and I currently hold what is called a Georgia low voltage unrestricted license. And what that license means is that in the state of Georgia, to work on anything that's considered low voltage at 70 volts or less, someone, either the owner of the company or someone that works with the IT or telephone company, has to have a license pertaining to the field in which they are working. Unrestricted means it doesn't matter what type of low voltage equipment out there, I can work on any of it. And the biggest thing is with the license, a lot of cities and some counties, I think also, will require you to get a permit from them on new construction. And if you don't have a license, you cannot get a permit. So that's where the license really comes in handy. Also, when you go take the test, the training you have to go through gives you some more information that you didn't have before you went, because you can't just go get the license. You have to actually have worked in the field for a short time before you go, a year or so that you have some background knowledge of what you're going to be covering. So that is a very handy tool to have. Everybody has different licenses in whatever field they may have, profession they may have been in, and y'all, it's the same thing with any of them. So, all right, the next slide. And I'll go ahead and tell you up front, as it's written here, I don't know everything and never will. I'm constantly learning things in my own field, and I'm learning things from working around others when I'm out and about working on other customers' equipment or whatever. Some folks I've had questions often presented to me by a customer saying, well, you know exactly what you're doing and how to do it. And well, the thing is, I'm constantly doing just phones, so I'm real familiar with how to do those. But if you ask me a financial question or something like that, I won't have a clue how to guide you, because it's not something that I'm constantly being trained in and constantly using. So you're constantly learning whatever you're doing, and you never really stop working. Even though, think of this, what I think of when I say retirement is you retire and you get up and you go do something you wanted to do, not because you have to do it. But you're constantly learning even then. You may get up and just cut the grass, sit in the shade, garden, go visit grandkids or whatever, but you're constantly doing something. You're just able to do it on your own time schedule, where before you were not able to. But you're constantly learning. If you don't learn, then you probably won't be around. But let's see the next slide. All right, some of the common smartphone terminology is out there, and it's similar between both the Apple platform and the Android platform. Some of the names may change a little bit. In Apple, they call their operating system iOS, and it's the mobile operating system that they created and developed exclusively for use on iPhones, iPods, iPads, any type of product that they produce. It's the same as Windows produced Windows 98, Windows XP, Windows 10. It's the operating system of the desktops. It's the basic program that allows all the other programs to work on a computer, a smartphone, whatever the device may be. iTunes is Apple's product that they've designed for their media player. It's also a media library, internet, radio, broadcaster, mobile device. It also gives you access to, if you buy an app, when you buy one phone, well, that app will stay in your iTunes account forever until you stop using it. So you go from one iPhone to another, you can download the app you bought 5 years ago onto the new iPhone, and usually it'll work unless the software has been made where it will not. But the app will still work. Your investment in that app will still be you still be able to use it. All right. This is something that we ran across. The internet radio part of it. Say if you lived in a different area in the country, but you live in here in the middle of Georgia now, but you may have grew up listening to a particular radio show or radio personality, and you still like to try to listen to them at times again. Well, iTunes, along with other type of media players, will allow you, if there's a streaming website out there where you can go and stream that particular radio show or particular radio personalities radio show off of the internet and play it here. If you lived in Texas, but now you live in Georgia, well, you could find a radio feed, web feed from that from the Houston area or Dallas or whatever, and maybe listen to it here. That's some of the things that technology has allowed us to be able to do now by having be able to listen to radio, for instance, most anywhere you're at. Smartphone, basically, the basic idea behind it was it's a class of mobile phones and multi-purpose computer devices. You used to have old flip phones or bag phones, and that's all it did. You could only make or receive a call on. And then you had something that was called a PDA, personal digital assistant. Well, smart folks out there in the industry decided, why can't we combine the two devices into one? Hence, the smartphone was developed and came out. Its ability it's basically a PDA where you can store pictures, documents, all type of things on that device. You can even download games, solitary, or whatever you might want, and be able to have something to occupy your time while you're waiting in the doctor's office, or waiting at the school to pick up your grandkids. But it also gives you the ability to make and receive calls on the same device, not having to keep up with two individual units. All right, the next slide. Some other terminology of it. With Apple and Google has the same type of deal. It's just named a little differently. But in the case of Apple, it's called Apple ID. This is an authentication method used by Apple for all their products, so that you have one login name, one password, and it lets you in on all of it, on all their products. And Google has a similar setup with theirs. And if you have a Gmail account with Google, you've already got a login for that part of it. The App Store with Apple, it's called App Store. With Google, it's called Google Play. Basically, either one of them allows you to access servers where they have apps or computer programs available for purchase. There's a lot of them that are free. You can just download them and use them. But there are some that have the requirement that if you want to get rid of the ads or you want to do certain features on them, you have to pay the developer a certain amount of money every month. Or some of them will have the option where you can pay a one-time fee and it's unlocked forever. But it just gives you that ability. The App Store and the Google Play Store gives you the ability to find apps for whatever you may want and be able to download it. You can find apps that allow you to edit your pictures. You can find apps that allow you to store documentation on your phone in a unsecure or a secured manner, whichever way you wish to do. But if you can think of it, somebody's probably has made an app out there for it at some point. If you ever heard of the term cloud used by anybody, it's basically with Apple, it's called iCloud. It's the cloud storage of your data, where whatever you put on your phone or your desktop or laptop computer that you have access to that iCloud. Basically, it will back up the information to the iCloud so that if your device were to get damaged, destroyed, stolen, whatever, you can get another device, download a copy of your data from the iCloud, and be able to have all your documentation, all your family photos, everything back at your fingertips again. And all that information is stored. Nobody but those who are doing it with Apple or Google know probably where the physical location of the servers are, but they're in a secure location so that nobody can tamper with them except for either yourself or those who work within the companies to maintain them. All right, this section will be on iPhones. There'll be a short section after this that will go over some details of the Androids. Let's see, with iPhones, Apple seems to come out with a brand new one every single year. Android-based phones are the same way. They're constantly tweaking them, making them a little bit better, making them do a little bit more than they have in the past. So they're constantly updating. On top of they want you to update and spend more money, but you don't have to if your device works just fine. If you're happy with it, don't mess with it. But with iPhone 8 or earlier versions of the phone, there was something called a home button. It was at the bottom of the screen. If you pressed it, it would back you out of whatever app you were in and put you back to the main screen of your phone so you could make another call, access another app, do whatever you needed to. It was just an easy way of backing out to the desktop If anybody may not be familiar with what the home screen is, basically it's the desktop of the iPhone or Android device. If you want to open any application, whether it be the music application, photos, your notepad, calculator, or whatever, all you have to do to open it is find the app on your phone, tap on it, and it will open up, and you can use the app. Some folks might not be familiar with how to make the information on your screen, how to enlarge it or to minimize it. Well, you can take 2 fingers on your screen, usually your thumb and index is the 2 easiest, put them on the screen and slide them outward or inward, and it will enlarge or minimize the content of the screen. So if you want to zoom in on the picture and see what maybe you like, what was that on somebody's collar or on their shirt pocket, you can zoom in and see their name, or you can see the brooch that the lady may be wearing. You can zoom in and get a little bit more detail of the picture. There are some other control centers on the phone. One of them is called a notification center, where any apps, whether it be a weather app or a news app, that you may have allowed to notify you when breaking news may have come out, or if you have a new email, you can swipe down with Apple. You can swipe down from the top of the page, top of your phone to the bottom, and it opens the notification center, and it will let you see all the notifications you received. To close it, you swipe up from the bottom to the top, and it'll close. Another handy feature is called Control Center, and to access it, you would swipe from the bottom of the screen to the top, and it opens up. And we have a screenshot of that later on, the next few slides, where it shows you some of the quick access apps that you're able to access in the Control Center. And you can customize that Control Center to add or subtract what you want to be in there. The things that you find handy, you can place in there where you can have easy access to them without having to search everywhere. All right, on iPhone 10 or later versions of it so far, they have removed the home button. A lot of folks don't agree with that, but that's what they've done. And in order to return to your home screen or your desktop on your device, you have to swipe up from the bottom of the screen, or to return to the first page, home screen, from the other pages, you have to swipe it up. And it's all software related instead of having a hard button that you can press and do the same feature. Switching apps, you have to swipe up and pause without lifting your finger to invoke the app switcher, or swipe right along the bottom to switch to the last app you used. This is the same thing as what you're used to able to do of double tapping the home screen. To close a running app, you swipe upward and it should close, and return you back to the home screen. There's something called a favorites list in your phone. iPhones have this, and Androids have it also. How to get to it's a little different, but on iPhones, when you tap on the green square with the phone handset cord, with the handset symbol inside of it, it comes up with down at the bottom of the screen, you'll have favorites, recent, calls, contacts, keypad, or voicemail. And the favorites list there is where you can put your parents, you can put your spouses, you can put your brothers and sisters or siblings, you can put your kids on that favorites list. You can put anybody you want to be on there, your best friend, whatever. But you can put them on the favorites list so that you can easily get to their contact information and maybe make calls to them. The favorites list also allows a cool feature on the phones that's called Do Not Disturb, where if you say you go to bed at 9 o'clock and you don't want your phone to ring anymore after 9 o'clock at night, don't ring until 6 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever it may be. Well, you can turn on Do Not Disturb and tell it between the hours of 9 and 7 a.m., do not ring. Well, in the Do Not Disturb settings, you can tell it whether you want no one to get through, or in this case, you can tell it let only the favorites come through. In other words, if your children call you anytime, day or night, they can get through to you and you'll be able to answer their call. Personally, I've got my Do Not Disturb settings set where anybody on favorites, which is mainly my parents, my brothers, sister-in-law, their kids, anybody that's close family. I don't care what time of day and night it is. If they need to get a hold of me, my phone is set to allow them to come through, because you never know, that may be the last time you talk to them. So to me, I got them all set where they can get a hold of me. It doesn't matter. But telemarketers or people who make a wrong phone call, misdial a call, I don't want to hear from them. Not from 10 to 7 in the morning. I don't want to be bothered by it. But if it's family, I want them to come through. All right, your phone misbehaving, if it's electronic device, like we mentioned earlier at the beginning of the presentation. Here in the office, we had a little bit of technical issues with some computers, so they were misbehaving. Well, with a smartphone, in order to make it clear up, usually you can force it to restart the phone. And what it does is it'll clear out any electronic glitches that may have developed over time since the last time the phone was restarted. Some folks use the name gremlins for that. Just, there's something in the electronic databases causing it not to act like it should. So the way you restart iPhones is usually on the side of the phone, you press the button on the right-hand side, hold it until you see the red off button come up at the top of the screen, and you swipe it from left to right normally, and it will turn your phone off. It'll start shutting it down. And then when it shuts down, you can restart the phone. 9 times out of 10, it will allow it to go back to working as it should. If it's really something severe going on, whether it be software related or some device in the phone may have started failing, that may not fix it. But if it's just an electronic gremlin, it should go away. You can also force close apps that may not be processing correctly. On the older phones, you double tap the screen, it will pull up and show all the opened apps. You swipe from the bottom to the top on the app, and it would go away. It would close it. Same thing with the newer phones. You go to App Switcher and be able to swipe from the bottom to the top to close the app. So that it will shut down and you restart it and hopefully have it work like it should. All right. The most extreme way of shutting down your phone is to press and hold both the button on the right hand side of the phone and the top button on iPhone 8s or earlier, or in the case of iPhone X or models thereafter, you hold down the side button and one of the volume buttons on the left hand side, and basically you're force restarting the phone. You're telling it that I want it to power cycle right now. I don't care what you're doing. Shut down, reboot. And Windows and MacBooks, they all have a similar mechanism of being able to restart them in case a program has frozen the computer up and you cannot get it to restart or do anything any other way. As I said, here's a screenshot of what the control center looks like. Here you have the airplane symbol. So if you're traveling a lot, you get on the airplane, stewardess comes around and says, I want you to turn your phone off. Well, you can hit the airplane symbol and it's going to cut the device off from all external connections, Wi-Fi or whatever, cell networks. It won't be able to access anything until you disable the airplane mode again. You have the green one here is the LTE or 3G, 4G, whatever the name may be, 5G settings, cell network, to let you know that that is turned on and that you're able to connect using that wireless signal. Here you have the Wi-Fi signal and Bluetooth below it. If you're at home or in a hotel and you have Wi-Fi on, you can connect to the Wi-Fi there and be able to use its data and not use any plan that any of your data you may have on your plan. Some folks still have a limited data plan. Most folks have started changing over to what is called an unlimited data plan with their carrier, so that it doesn't matter how much information or music you download or listen to, you won't ever run out. Bluetooth allows you to connect to speakers or earpieces, headsets where you can talk to people more privately and not have anybody overhear what the person you're talking to is saying back to you. Here, the little moon symbol, that's what stands for do not disturb. You click on that and it'll turn white. The what's out here around the moon will turn white, and the moon, I think, will turn black. And basically you turn on do not disturb outside the schedule if you have a schedule set. If you don't have a schedule set and you open the control center, it'll already be turned right for you and let you know that it's been turned on. Here's some other things. You got access to the camera. Your flashlight turns on the little flash LED that's on the front of the phone, so you can use it temporarily as a flashlight if you need some added light wherever you're at. You got a calculator. You've got car mode. If you don't want your phone to ring or come through while you're driving, you can turn that on. You also have access to your music player within the phone here, top right-hand corner, so that you can quickly stop the music while you're maybe pulling up to the toll booth or whatever, and you don't want the music playing while you're sitting there handing the attendant your money so you can pass through. All right, this symbol here, the gray box with the gear symbols in it, that is the settings on iPhone. So if you read anything, it says you need to go to settings to access the different options in your phone. This is the symbol you need to be looking for. And here's some screenshots of all the settings that's inside your phone. There's more than is listed here, but this gives you a good idea of how many different things there are. And this is really why I think they developed the control center, so you can easily access a lot of these options and not have to be searching for them. Because you got airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc., all right there together. You got other settings here. Here's your touch ID and passcode. You can change how bright your phone may be, or how big the text will be on your phone. You can change all those settings by going into the setting app and going to the particular area of the settings that you want to change. All right. Under settings, like we've already mentioned, we already talked about airplane mode. General gives you where you can update your phone, and change date and time, language, all those type of things. You also have Wi-Fi, which you kind of covered. That's where you can go ahead and select the Wi-Fi signal that you're close to. And if it's unsecure, go ahead and connect to it. If it's secure and you have a password to it, you can enter the password and log into it. Do not disturb, as I already mentioned, that's the handy feature of being able to select who, if anyone, can get through to you during the time that you do not want to be disturbed. Privacy down here, it's also something that's handy. You can tell the different apps at different times what information you want to be you want them to have or be allowed to have about you. Well, those settings are there under the privacy tab. Passwords and accounts, any website that you routinely visit, email, for instance, your email account. If you routinely go into it and you don't want to always try to remember what the password is, you can have it saved within the settings of the phone by using passwords and accounts. So that when you go to the site, you can click on the login thing. It'll pop up and say, do you want to use login name X, Y, and Z? You tell it yes, and it puts in the appropriate password for that site. New users for iPhones, and this also kind of applies to Androids also. If you want to download any app to your smartphones, you're going to have to put some kind of payment mechanism in there. And the three main ways that you can put a payment option in there is, one is debit card, another one is a prepaid debit card, and third is credit card. Debit card, really not highly recommended to do that, because that anybody were to do anything that they shouldn't with your debit card information, it's very hard to get the money replaced back into your bank account once it's taken out. And there's no law to force anybody to do it. So if your bank's wanting to give you a hard time, you're probably not going to get the money back. Prepaid debit card is a little bit better because you can isolate it, the funds on it. Say you put $50 on a prepaid debit card, then if somebody gets that information, all they're going to get is $50. They're not going to get all your access to all your funds that you have in your bank account. So that's a little bit better. The best way is a credit card, due to the simple fact that there are laws, both state and federal, that will help you to have the charges written off once they are found to be fraudulent. If you find out you have a charge on your credit card within 60 days, and you put it in dispute in writing with the credit card issuer, then they'll do an investigation of it. And once it's found out that you did not make the charge in Jamaica when you live in Kansas, then you won't have to pay for those fraudulent charges that were placed against you. But you have to have that's the best way of having a mechanism in there, would be a credit card, for those reasons, having the laws that help back you up on that. To enter the payment information on the iPhone, you need to go to settings, and at the top of the settings app, you'll see a thing that says, you'll see your picture if you got one there. If you've added it, you'll see your name. Down below it, it'll say Apple ID tab, the Apple iCloud, Apple ID, iCloud, iTunes, and the App Store listed below it. You tap on that, then the third option will be payment and shipping information, and you click on it. You tap on it, and then you follow the instructions from there on how to enter the payment information. Another thing down here at the bottom says enable your backup of your Apple iPhone so your data is not lost. We kind of covered that already. This just gives you, tell you how to get to those settings. Go to settings, tap on Apple ID, and then tap on iCloud, and you can tell it which particular apps you want to be backed up. Your photos, your notepad, whatever. You can tell it which particular apps to back up. You get a certain amount of space with Apple iCloud. It's free. If you want more, you have to purchase it. I forgot the exact prices, but when you click on it, it'll tell you, it'll give you how much the data is. The space will be according to the payment plan they have there. All right, multiple home screens. A lot of you, if you've used a desktop for a long time, your desktop sometimes will get cluttered. You have all the different shortcuts to the applications on your desktop. Well, iPhone's no different. You'll have you have multiple apps on your phone, so they've gave you the ability of having multiple home screens so you can have them all spread out. Or if you have a bunch of financial apps or a bunch of reading apps or weather apps or news apps or whatever, you can kind of group them all together. For instance, like I got there, Mars State Bank, Georgia United Credit Union. You can put all the financial apps into one little screen with themselves, and be able to. You always know you can click on one particular icon on your home screen, and you'll have all your financial apps therein. Same thing with any other news app or or email or whatever you may have. You can group them together into a folder. There's a app out there. It's called Lock Notes, and I think it's available both on Apple App Store and Google Play Store, where you can purchase this app, and it'll allow you to put in like a simple 4-digit code so that you can, any documentation that you have within this app is secure with that 4-digit code. You can go in there and put in login name and password for different accounts. You can put in phone numbers of your children or grandchildren, whatever, if you want to be secure in that way where nobody can get to them easily. And it's all, and right there in the middle of the page, I wrote on this, P.S. It's not a bad idea to have a fireproof or waterproof box in your home where you may keep your legal documents, your will, your insurance documentation, whatever, stored there. Wasn't bad to get a small notebook or address book, and also write down the logins and passwords for your websites, so that you still have a hard copy of them somewhere. A lot of security conscious people say don't do that, but most of us don't have a good enough memory to remember everything. So if we write it down and put it in a secure location, then you limit access to it, but also give you the ability to go back and look and find out what your login name and password was to your Gmail account or your Yahoo account or whatever it may be. And with it being in your home, you really restricting access to it, because only you or those you allow to be in your home should be able to get to it. All right, Android smartphones, kind of what we covered earlier. If you're a first-time purchaser of an Android smartphone, you have to set it up. If you already have a Gmail account, you already have a Google account, you just log in with that email address and log in for it, and you'll be able to proceed. If not, it gives you the ability to set up a Google account so that you can access the App Store and other features of the online features of the smartphone. To enable your backup on your Android device, similar to what you do with Apple, go to the settings, open your account, and then select your Google account there, and check and make sure that everything that you want to be stored on the Google iCloud storage is allowed to do so. There's some things are allowed by default. You might not want it, but you would want another app, so you can sit there and control what is allowed to do so. During the setup process, whether it be the iPhone or Android, because I think Android kind of, like it said, during the setup process, it gives you the option of doing it. Apple, you can do it afterwards. But you can go through and put in a passcode or pass pattern or fingerprint so that you can unlock your device or have it secured. This is handy for the reason if you forget your phone at Cracker Barrel or Ruth's Chris Steakhouse or wherever you may be, or at the baseball field, you leave it sitting on the bleachers while you're watching your grandkids. You can go back and get your phone and be relatively confident that nobody's messed with it. Or if somebody did steal your phone and you got a passcode or your fingerprint on it, so you have to have that information to unlock it, then they can't get into it and make fraudulent calls or get pertinent information about you out off your device. So it's very highly recommended to put a passcode on it or of some way of securing your phone. Android has a similar thing that Apple did of the home button. Well, in their case, they have 3 buttons. They were called back button, home button, and overview button. The back button was on the bottom of the screen to the left-hand side. Home button was in the middle, and overview button was to the right at the bottom of the screen. Some of the newer versions of the phone, they've gone from having the physical button down there to having the software version of the buttons in the same locations. It just depends on which version that you may have. The back button is self-explanatory. It takes you back to the last thing you did in the app or reverts you to the last page in your mobile browser. Or if you're still in the very front of the app, it should back you out to the. Let's see. I would think it would back you out to the main screen, but let's see. Additionally, holding down the button when using your browser should automatically open up a menu that makes it easier to access your favorite bookmarks, browsing history, and websites that you visit most often. The home button, like it said, is located in the middle. Essentially takes you back to the home screen. Out of whatever app or how deep you may be in the app, it'll take you all the way back out to the home screen. Overview button functions like a multitask function in iOS. Pressing the button reveals the vertical list of opened and active apps on your mobile device, allowing you to quickly navigate and jump between various apps. And double tapping this button, and you'll jump straight back to the last app you used. And at the bottom, it just goes up back over about the gestures. Instead of having a hard button on the phone, you have to use the software gestures in order to do the same features. It just depends on the version that you have. Additional features with Android, like with Apple, you have multiple ability of doing multiple home screens, so you can have multiple apps on your phone. And because you might think when you first look at the smartphone, that first screen is all you have. No, you have ability to have multiple home screens, so you can spread out the information that you may want to be on your device. Quick settings, where you get to this, swipe from the top of the screen to the bottom, and it will you'll come up with a similar thing like the control center with Apple, where you get quick access to airplane mode, Wi-Fi, and some other features. I'm not sure what all they are since I don't have Android, don't use it. I have Apple, so I'm more familiar with it. It also has the ability to do not disturb. It's a little bit different than what you may be used to if you have an Apple phone. But it says quickly enable do not disturb. Swipe down from the top of the screen, open the notification shade, and select the do not disturb icon. Tap the do not disturb icon to enable your predefined settings. If you want to change those settings, go to your settings menu on Android and select the do not disturb icon, and you can go in and change the particular settings, who's allowed, who's not allowed, when, and all those other things similar to what you can do with Apple. All right. On your smartphone, when you open the web browser, whether it be Safari on iPhone or Google Chrome, Firefox, or Opera Mini on Android, all you have to do to go to a website is usually at the top of the web browser, there's a little white bar, and you type in the particular address that you want to go to. In this case, we got a couple examples. We got Security First Asset Management address there. For example, we have foxnews.com, foxbusiness.com. But you can put any address there. You can put the address like we have listed here in there, and it goes straight to it. If you're not real familiar with what the address may be, but you know, I'm looking for Fox News or I'm looking for CNN, you just type in Fox News or CNN, and then when you hit next, it'll bring up Google, will do a search and say, here's what we find are possible websites for Fox News or CNN or the New York Stock Exchange or whatever it may be. All right. We're almost done, but one little thing that I thought was be good to let everybody know about. I'm familiar with it since I work in the industry all the time, but in AT&T's areas, wherever they may have their phone service, for the last couple years, they have started disconnecting DSL. If you have DSL and you're still paying for the account, you'll keep it. As long as you pay for it, you don't tell them to disconnect it, you'll pay for it. But if you ever tell them to disconnect it, you will not get it back. They will not reactivate it. They're trying to force folks onto their newer products that they may have out there. One of them is Wi-Fi based, wireless at home. But if you're happy with DSL, it does what you want. I'm just trying to make you aware that if you do have it disconnected, you will not get it back. There are some areas that is all you can get. There are areas that like Progressive Rural around Dublin, they have for several years now, they've been running what is called fiber optic cable directly to homes. And so you're not dependent on copper lines, which DSL is dependent on. So you have kind of limited on how much bandwidth there is on the copper. But with the fiber, there is no limitation on it due to the fact that fiber is essentially glass, really, really thin glass, like the thickness of your hair size. And basically, it's just light going down the glass from point A to point B, and it's transmitting data from the phone company to your home and allow you to access the internet at a greater speed than you can on DSL. And the only limitation to fiber is the equipment that's on either end of the circuit. In other words, they put fiber in at your house or at your business. 5 years from now, they come in, they change out the equipment on both ends, and all of a sudden, instead of having the 50 megabyte data signal, you've got a 300 megabyte signal. And all that was changed was the electronic equipment has improved to a point where it allows it to work. The fiber is able to handle that type of bandwidth where older technology, copper lines, were not able to do so. There was a limitation on how much it could transmit. I know this little presentation mainly covered some features on Android and iPhone. Really didn't cover much about computers, but that can be added later if need be, or we can, if anybody has a question about something on computer, we can certainly try to cover if we're able to. But this is the end of the presentation that we have at this time. Go ahead and turn the time back over to Shana.
I'm sorry. The phone is not.
There's no audio.
Shana, turn your audio on.
My audio. Sorry. Oh, technology, love-hate relationship with us. All right, so Nate turned his video back off, but we need to turn his back on. Okay, so Nate, there was a couple of questions that people had while you were doing the presentation. The first one was from Sheila Paul, and I guess you wanted to know how you got the Do Not Disturb app on the iPhone?
It's built in. Do Not Disturb is built into the operating system.
Right. I guess maybe she wanted a little bit more information on how, because you were talking about how to turn it on over the night and how to input your favorites. I know that you could just slide down from the quick top menu, right? And it's just a little button that looks like a moon. Did that answer your question, Sheila?
Go to settings, and then it's like it's the 8th item down the screen, and it says Do Not Disturb. Right above it, you got notifications, sounds, and Do Not Disturb. When you click on Do Not Disturb tab there, and it'll open it up. It'll say Do Not Disturb. It'll let you know whether it's on or off. You can see the schedule. If you want to set the schedule set, you can turn it on and you set the time of the day that you want it to be active. Also, you can tell it, there's an option of silence. You can tell it always silence the calls or only while the phone is locked. And down below that, it says phone, allow calls from, and it gives you the options of everyone, no one, favorites,
Okay.
or groups, all contacts is how it's listed.
Okay.
And you just select those that you want from that list. But that's where you find it. You go to settings, and then, like I said, about the 8th icon down, it says do not disturb.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and then one more question that they had was, Cindy Walker wanted you to repeat the process for restarting your iPhone.
The first way you should restart it is to press the button on the right-hand side of the phone, hold it until the I think it's red button that pops up across the top of the screen. No, it's not red. Right, it's a white circle with the red on symbol on it, and it says slide to power off. And you would slide from the left-hand side of the screen to the right, and it will turn your phone off. That's the first way of turning your phone off without going to the severe step of a forced restart.
Okay, hope that
If
answers.
it's an iPhone, iPhone 10 and later, it's the same thing. You press and hold the button on the side until the slide to off symbol comes up.
Thank you, Nate.
Is that all the questions?
That's Cindy Walker says what usually happens is Alexa answers. Oh.
You're hitting the home button.
You got to hold it.
No, you hitting the home button. The home button doesn't turn your phone off. You have to hit the button on the side of the phone. Press it and hold it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, anybody who wants a copy of the presentation, we will do that. I see Joanne Smith has asked that. We will keep track of those who would like that.
And that's under is your phone misbehaving slide.
Okay.
How to go through and restart your phone.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Now you know why we use Nate. He is a plethora of knowledge with phones and technology.
Thanks, Nate. We appreciate you taking your time today to do this. Thanks, everybody, for being on our call today. Remember, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing the family workshop, financial workshop, and we also have those double token events that you can come to when you can bring your friends. So everybody have a great day. Good to have you have the opportunity to be with you today. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Oops.